The Zithran interrogation chamber hummed with malevolent energy. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez hung suspended in the center of the room, electromagnetic restraints burning against her wrists and ankles. The alien inquisitors circled her like predators, their chitinous exoskeletons clicking with each movement. "Your species is weak," Commander Thak Siler hissed, his translator rendering the words in cold, mechanical tones. "You will tell us the location of your fleet's staging grounds." Maya spat blood onto the polished floor. "Go to hell." She'd been a Marine for 6 years, deployed on the frontier colony of New Hebrides when the Zithran strike force descended from the stars. They'd been waiting for someone like her, an officer with tactical knowledge. What they hadn't expected was her stubbornness. The first wave of pain lanced through her body as Thak Siler activated the neural disruptor. Every nerve ending screamed in agony. Maya's vision went white, but she bit down on her tongue until she tasted copper rather than give them the satisfaction of hearing her scream. "Primitive biology," another Zithran scientist observed, manipulating holographic displays. "Limited pain tolerance. She will break soon." But Maya didn't break. Not when they increased the intensity. Not when they switched to chemical agents that felt like acid in her veins. Not when they employed devices that made her bones feel like they were shattering from within. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. The Zithrans grew frustrated. They'd conquered 17 species across 4 star systems, and none had resisted this long. Humans were supposed to be fragile, soft-skinned creatures without natural armor or weapons. Yet this one refused to yield. Perhaps a demonstration of futility, Thak Siler suggested, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "Let her understand that resistance is meaningless." They brought in the gravitational compressor. Maya's eyes widened as she recognized the device from intelligence briefings. It could crush a being slowly, inexorably, while keeping them conscious throughout. "Last chance, human. Where is your fleet?" Maya's voice came out as a ragged whisper. "Earth sends its regards." The device activated. Pressure built around her body, squeezing, compressing. Her ribs cracked first, then her legs. Blood filled her lungs. Through the haze of agony, she thought of home, the beaches of Puerto Rico where she'd grown up, her mother's cooking, the laughter of her younger brother. At 37 minutes, Maya Rodriguez's heart stopped beating. The Zithrans recorded the time of death with clinical precision, already planning their next interrogation subject. Thak Siler turned away, mandibles clicking in disappointment. Behind him, none of them noticed the faint shimmer that passed through Maya's lifeless body. None of them saw her fingers twitch. The universe had rules. The Zithrans thought they knew them all. They were about to learn they were wrong. The Zithran medical officer, Krelnax, approached the corpse with scanning equipment. Standard procedure demanded biological analysis of deceased subjects. The Zithrans prided themselves on thoroughness. They'd learned much about the 17 species they'd conquered through such autopsies. He activated his scanner and frowned. The readings made no sense. "Commander Thak Siler," he called out. "The human's cellular structure is active." "Impossible." "You confirmed cessation of cardiac and neural function." "I did, but..." Maya's eyes snapped open. She drew a ragged breath that shouldn't have been possible with punctured lungs. The electromagnetic restraint sparked and shattered as she flexed her arms. Her body, which had been broken and crushed moments ago, now moved with fluid grace as she dropped to the floor. Krelnak stumbled backward. "What?" Maya's fist caught him in what passed for a face, sending him crashing into the monitoring equipment. Alarms shrieked throughout the vessel. The other Zithrans in the room scrambled for weapons, but Maya moved like a force of nature. Her bones had healed. Her organs had regenerated. Every injury the Zithrans had inflicted was gone, replaced by something that felt different. Stronger. Impossible. Thak Siler roared, raising his plasma weapon. You were dead. I got better, Maya growled. The shot should have vaporized her skull. Instead, she moved, faster than any human should, and the plasma bolt scorched the wall behind where she'd been standing. Her hand closed around Thaxsiler's weapon arm, and she twisted. The exoskeleton that could withstand small arms' fire cracked like brittle plastic. More Zithran guards poured into the chamber. Maya's tactical mind, honed by years of military training, assessed the situation instantly. 12 hostiles. One door. Weapons charging. She shouldn't have stood a chance. But something had changed during those 37 minutes. Something fundamental. Maya moved through the Zithrans like death incarnate. She felt their attacks, plasma burns, kinetic impacts, neural disruptors, but her body adapted, healed, evolved with each injury. A burn would scar over in seconds. A broken bone would knit itself together before she hit the ground. Within minutes, the interrogation chamber was silent except for her breathing and the moans of incapacitated aliens. Maya stood in the center of the carnage, examining her hands. They were steady. Unmarked. The scars from years of combat were gone, replaced by smooth skin that glowed faintly with an inner light. "What am I?" she whispered. The ship's alarm continued its wailing song. She could hear the thunder of more guards approaching. Maya grabbed a plasma rifle from a fallen Zithran and checked the charge. She had questions. But first, she had a ship to escape. And she was starting to suspect that death wasn't going to stop her. Maya sprinted through the corridors of the Zithran warship, her bare feet slapping against the cold metal deck. The layout was alien, designed for beings with different proportions and needs, but her mind processed it with startling clarity. She could almost sense the ship's structure, feel the flow of its systems. Another gift from death, apparently. A squad of Zithran warriors rounded the corner ahead, their weapons already tracking her position. Maya didn't hesitate. She leaped, impossibly high, her body twisting in midair as plasma bolts carved through the space where she'd been. She landed among them, and her stolen rifle became a club, then a javelin, then a weapon in ways its designers never intended. When the last Zithran fell, Maya paused. Her heart was racing, but not from exertion. From exhilaration. "This isn't natural," she muttered, accessing a wall terminal with trembling fingers. The Zithran interface should have been incomprehensible, but somehow she understood it. The symbols made sense. The logic was clear. She pulled up the ship's database and began searching. Personnel files. Scientific research. Prisoner manifests. There, her own entry. Status, deceased. Disposal scheduled. But below it, flagged in urgent priority, was a research note from Krelnax, timestamped just before her resurrection. Anomaly detected, subject's quantum biological signature exhibits unprecedented characteristics. Cellular structure contains unidentified adaptive mechanisms. Recommend immediate isolation and study. Classification, species enhancement level unknown. Maya's blood ran cold. They'd detected something in her before she'd come back. But what? She'd been a normal human. Standard genetics, standard augments, nothing exotic. She dug deeper into the database, her fingers flying across the interface with growing confidence. There, another file. Records from the colony raid on New Hebrides. Strategic assessment, human settlement destroyed. Resistance minimal. Notable, proximity to Cascade anomaly in Sector 447. Recommend hazmat protocols. The Cascade anomaly. Maya remembered briefings about it, a spatial distortion discovered 3 months ago by human survey teams. Scientists had detected strange quantum fluctuations but hadn't determined their source. The colony had been established nearby despite the mystery. Oh God, she breathed. She'd been exposed to something. They all had been. But only she had died and come back. Only she had been pushed past the threshold. An explosion rocked the corridor. Thaxyler emerged from the smoke, his carapace scorched and cracked but his weapons very much functional. A full platoon of elite guards flanked him. "End of the line, abomination," he snarled. Maya raised her stolen rifle, knowing it was nearly depleted. 30 guards. Hardened warriors. One of her. "I died once today," she said calmly. "Didn't take. Then we shall ensure permanent cessation." They opened fire as one. The corridor became a hellstorm of plasma and kinetic rounds. Maya felt her body torn apart, limbs shattered, organs punctured, blood vaporized. She fell. And 37 seconds later, she stood back up. The Zythran's weapons clicked empty. Their mandibles hung open in shock. Maya smiled, and there was nothing human in it. "My turn." The bridge of the warship was a cathedral of alien technology. Holographic displays showed the deployment of the Zythran fleet across human space, dozens of vessels, hundreds of colony worlds under siege. Thaxyler's command chair sat empty now, its former occupant left broken in the corridor behind her. Maya stood before the main console, her hands dancing across controls she shouldn't understand but did. Every time she died, and she died 4 more times fighting her way here, she came back stronger, faster, more aware. The universe was teaching her its secrets through violence. "Access denied," the ship's computer intoned in Zythran. "Command authorization required." "Override," Maya whispered, and felt something shift within her. Energy flowed from her fingertips into the console. The interface sparked and flickered, then obediently opened its databases to her. She gasped at what she found. The Zythrans hadn't just attacked New Hebrides randomly. They'd known about the Cascade anomaly. More, they'd been tracking similar anomalies across the galaxy for decades. Sites where the fundamental laws of physics became malleable. Where evolution could be accelerated. Where death could become negotiable. Other species had been exposed to such anomalies. The Zythrans had hunted them down and eradicated them while they were still weak, still learning. Humanity's expansion had brought them dangerously close to one of these sites, and the Zythrans had struck preemptively. But they'd been too late. Maya downloaded everything: star maps, fleet positions, communication protocols. Knowledge flooded her mind, and her enhanced brain absorbed it all without effort. She saw the pattern now. The Cascade anomalies weren't random. They formed a network, a web stretching across the galaxy, all connecting back to a single point in deep space. A point the Zythrans called the origin. "Warning," the computer announced. "Self-destruct sequence initiated. Detonation in 5 minutes." Maya spun. Through the viewport, she saw a Zythran dreadnought approaching, its weapons charging. They were willing to sacrifice this entire ship to kill her. Smart. But not smart enough. She ran for the escape pods, her mind already calculating trajectories and survival odds. The pod bay doors were sealed, guards stationed outside. Maya didn't slow down. She crashed through the doors, literally through them, and the guards' weapons' fire only made her angrier. 90 seconds to detonation. She threw herself into a pod and slammed the launch controls. The pod erupted from the dying warship just as its reactor went critical. The explosion lit up the void like a newborn star, and the shockwave caught the pod, sending it tumbling through space. Maya's consciousness flickered as G-forces that should have liquefied her organs pressed her into the seat. She felt ribs crack, felt her brain hemorrhaging, felt death reaching for her again. "Not yet," she told it. "Not yet." 37 seconds later, she opened her eyes to find the pod intact and drifting. Through the small viewport, she could see other escape pods from the Zythran ship, but also something else, a human patrol cruiser, the Defiant, investigating the explosion. She activated the pod's beacon and allowed herself a moment of relief. But even as rescue approached, Maya's enhanced mind was already working on the larger problem. The Zythrans knew about the cascade anomalies. They'd been suppressing any species that encountered them, keeping this power for themselves. Which meant humanity was in even greater danger than anyone realized. She'd come back from death once. She'd need to do it again, in a way, reinvent herself, become more than just a soldier. Become a weapon. A symbol. A message to the galaxy. Maya Rodriguez had died on that interrogation table. What returned was something new. The medical bay of the Defiant was chaos. Doctors and scientists surrounded Maya, their instruments flashing and beeping with readings that shouldn't be possible. Captain James Morrison stood behind the observation glass, his weathered face pale. "Vitals are off the charts," Dr. Okonkwo reported, her voice tight with professional confusion. "Her cellular regeneration rate is. I don't even have a baseline to compare it to. Her bone density has increased by 40%. Her neural pathways are forming new connections in real time." "Is she human?" Morrison asked quietly. "Genetically?" "Yes." "Functionally?" Okonkwo shook her head. "She's something else now." Inside the examination room, Maya sat calmly while they ran their tests. She could feel their fear, their fascination. She didn't blame them. She scared herself. "Lieutenant Rodriguez," Morrison's voice came through the intercom. "Can you explain what happened to you?" Maya looked up at the observation window, meeting his eyes. "They tortured me to death, sir. Took 37 minutes. Then I came back." Silence filled the channel. "And every time they've killed me since," she continued, "I've come back stronger. I think it has something to do with the cascade anomaly near New Hebrides. Something in the colony's environment changed us." "Changed me." "Us?" Morrison's voice sharpened. "There were other survivors?" Maya's jaw tightened. "No, sir. Just me. The Zythrans killed everyone else quickly. I was the only one they kept alive long enough to trigger whatever this is." She pulled up the data she'd downloaded from the Zythran ship, transmitting it to the Defiant's computers. "But sir, you need to see this. The Zythrans have been hunting down species exposed to these anomalies for years. They see it as an existential threat. They'll come at Earth with everything they have now that they know what I can do." Morrison studied the data streaming across his display, his expression darkening. "Fleet Command needs to see this immediately. We're 2 days from the nearest major base, Station Prometheus. Will you remain stable that long?" Maya flexed her hand, watching the play of muscles beneath skin that glowed faintly with that strange inner light. "I don't know what stable means anymore, sir. But I'm not going anywhere." The next 48 hours passed in a blur of tests and debriefings. Maya slept little, discovered she needed little sleep. She ate constantly, her enhanced metabolism burning through calories at an astonishing rate. And she trained, pushing her body to find its new limits. She discovered she could lift nearly a ton. Could run at speeds that should have torn her muscles apart. Could process tactical information with computer-like precision. And most terrifying of all, she could feel when death was coming. A sixth sense that warned her of danger before it arrived. When the Defiant docked at Station Prometheus, Maya was met by a full military escort. Not hostile, but cautious. She'd become something unprecedented, and humanity didn't know how to classify her. Admiral Chen, no relation to the Chinese admiral she'd served under briefly, waited in the station's command center. She was a stern woman with iron-gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. "Lieutenant Rodriguez," she said without preamble. "You've put us in a difficult position." "Ma'am?" "The Zythrans now know that humanity can produce individuals like you. According to their own data, that makes us a prime threat. They'll escalate. Full-scale invasion, not just raids. Chen pulled up a star map. We're already detecting massive fleet movements in Zithran space. They're coming, and we're not ready. Maya studied the map, her enhanced mind calculating possibilities. Then we need to buy time. Hit them first, fast, where they don't expect it. With what? One enhanced soldier against an armada? With information, Maya countered. I know their fleet positions, their communication codes, their tactics. And I'm not the only potential weapon we have. She highlighted New Hebrides on the map. The colony is destroyed, but the anomaly is still there. Still active. Admiral Chen's eyes widened. You're suggesting we see if we can recreate what happened to me. Voluntarily. Build a strike force that can't be killed. The room fell silent. That's insane, someone whispered. Maya smiled grimly. So was coming back from the dead. But here I am. The research facility on Station Prometheus had been hastily repurposed. What had once been a xenobiology lab was now something else, part hospital, part barracks, part experimental chamber. 30 volunteers stood in formation before Maya, each one a veteran soldier who'd heard about her resurrection and made the choice to follow. You understand what you're volunteering for, Maya said, her voice carrying across the chamber. We don't fully understand the process. We don't know if it will work for everyone. And if it does work. She paused, remembering those first moments of returning to life, the disorientation and terror. You won't be the same. A Marine named Jackson stepped forward. Ma'am, respectfully, we're already dead if the Zythrans invade with their full force. At least this way, we're doing something. Maya nodded. She'd given the same speech to herself a dozen times over the past week. Dr. Okonkwo emerged from the control room, her face haggard from days without sleep. We've analyzed the Cascade Anomaly's energy signature. We think we can replicate its effects in a controlled environment. The key is quantum entanglement at a cellular level. The anomaly doesn't just change you, it connects you to something larger. A field of possibility that rewrites physical laws. In English, Dr. Admiral Chen said dryly. The anomaly teaches your body that death is optional. But to learn that lesson. Okonkwo's voice trailed off. We have to die first, Maya finished. Just like I did. The first volunteer was a woman named Lieutenant Sarah Park, a pilot who'd lost her entire squadron to a Zithran ambush. She lay on the examination table without fear, her eyes fixed on Maya. See you on the other side, she said calmly. The chamber filled with the recreated energy signature of the Cascade Anomaly, a shimmer in the air that made reality seem thin. Okonkwo initiated the procedure with trembling hands. Sarah's body convulsed. Her heart stopped after 4 minutes. Then nothing. 5 minutes. 10. 15. She's not coming back, someone whispered. Maya felt something tear inside her chest. This was her idea. Her responsibility. At 18 minutes, Sarah gasped and sat up, her eyes glowing with the same inner light that marked Maya. The room erupted in shocked exclamations. Sarah looked at her hands, flexed them, then turned to Maya with a wild grin. That was incredible. Not everyone made it. Of the 30 volunteers, only 19 returned from death. Each failure was a knife in Maya's heart, but the survivors insisted on continuing. They understood the stakes. By the end of the week, Maya had a squad. 19 men and women who could take damage that would kill normal humans and keep fighting. Who could adapt and heal and learn through pain. They called themselves the Immortals, though Maya insisted they weren't truly unkillable, just very, very hard to stop. Training began immediately. Maya pushed them hard, teaching them to embrace their new abilities while maintaining their humanity. It was a delicate balance. The power made you feel invincible, made you forget fear. That could lead to recklessness or worse, cruelty. Remember, she told them during a particularly brutal sparring session, we're not superior to normal humans. We're just adapted for a specific threat. The Zythrans made a mistake by creating me. Let's make them regret it. Jackson, sporting a broken arm that was already visibly healing, grinned. When do we hit them? Maya pulled up the tactical display. Zythran fleet movements showed a massive buildup near the edge of human space. 3 dreadnoughts, dozens of cruisers, hundreds of support craft. An invasion force that could overwhelm humanity's scattered defenses. But Maya had been studying Zythran psychology through the data she'd stolen. They were methodical, patient, convinced of their superiority. They wouldn't expect a preemptive strike, especially not from a tiny force of enhanced humans. We leave in 2 days, Maya announced. Our target is the command ship, the Sovereign's Will. We board it, we kill every Zythran aboard, and we broadcast their defeat across their entire network. A message, Admiral Chen said, nodding in understanding. No, Maya corrected, her voice cold and hard. A promise. They wanted to know what humanity becomes when pushed to the edge. We'll show them. The insertion pod tore through space, its ablative armor burning away as it approached the Zythran command ship. Inside, Maya and her immortals sat in perfect calm, their enhanced metabolisms keeping them steady despite the violent deceleration. 30 seconds to impact, Jackson reported. Hull breach confirmed. We're going right into their hangar bay. Maya checked her weapons one final time, a plasma rifle taken from her first escape, and a combat knife that had been with her since basic. The knife was almost quaint now, given what her body could do, but it felt right to carry it. The pod hit the Sovereign's Will like a meteor. Metal screamed. Alarms wailed. The Immortals burst from the wreckage into a hangar full of surprised Zythran warriors and support staff. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. Maya moved like lightning, her enhanced reflexes making the Zythrans seem slow. Beside her, Sarah Park flowed through enemy formations with deadly grace, while Jackson took hits that would have killed him weeks ago and simply kept coming. The Immortals had trained together, learned to fight as a unit, and now they were unstoppable. They carved through the ship deck by deck, leaving chaos in their wake. Maya's mind tracked their progress with perfect clarity, security stations disabled, communication arrays captured, bridge defenses bypassed. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Until they reached the command deck and found Thaxyler waiting for them. I should have dissected you when I had the chance, the Zythran commander hissed. He'd upgraded his armor, augmented his weapons. Behind him stood a squad of elite guards equipped with experimental technology. Should have, Maya agreed. But you made a different choice. You tortured me. Killed me. And taught me that death is negotiable. We will correct that error. The elite guards opened fire with weapons designed specifically to counter regeneration, molecular disruptors that prevented cellular cohesion, thermal lances that burned at temperatures hot enough to prevent healing. 3 Immortals fell in the first seconds, their bodies too damaged to recover quickly. But Maya had been killed by the best. These weapons? They just made her angry. She charged through the barrage, feeling her flesh burn and tear and heal in a continuous cycle. Her hands closed on Thaxyler's armored throat, and she squeezed until the reinforced exoskeleton cracked. You wanted to know what humanity becomes, she growled. We become whatever we need to be to survive. That's our strength. That's our curse. And that's why you'll lose. Thaxyler's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter or terror. Kill us all, more will come. The collective will never stop. Good, Maya said, and snapped his neck. The battle for the bridge lasted another 10 minutes. When it was over, 8 of her immortals stood victorious among the fallen Zythrans. 3 were dead, truly dead, damaged beyond even their enhanced regeneration. Maya felt each loss like a physical blow. But they'd won. The command ship was theirs. Sarah accessed the communication array and opened channels to every Zithran vessel in range, every colony, every outpost. Maya stood before the camera, her uniform torn and bloodied, her eyes glowing with that otherworldly light. "This is Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez of the Human Alliance," she said, her voice carrying across light years. "You came to Earth thinking us weak. You murdered our colonies. You tried to break us." She held up Thaxsiler's command insignia. "You failed. You created something you can't control, can't kill, can't stop. We're coming for every ship you send, every world you control. This is not a war of conquest. This is a message." She leaned closer to the camera. "Leave humanity alone." The transmission ended. Maya turned to her surviving immortals, seeing her own exhaustion reflected in their faces. They'd won this battle, but the war was just beginning. "Ma'am," Jackson said quietly. "What do we do now?" Maya looked out the viewport at the stars, at the infinite darkness between them where more threats waited. The cascade anomalies, the origin the Zythrans had feared, the question of what humanity was becoming. She'd died and come back changed. They all had. But the real question was whether they could hold on to their humanity while wielding this power. "Now," Maya said finally. "Now we prove we're more than weapons. We go home. We rebuild. We prepare. And when the Zythrans come again, because they will, we'll be ready." She thought of New Hebrides, of the colonists who hadn't survived to see what their sacrifice had created. Of the immortals who died giving humanity a chance. "We make sure everyone who's fallen mattered. We become the guardians they needed us to be." Sarah stepped beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Together." "Together," Maya agreed. In the void outside, human ships were already arriving to secure the captured command vessel. Admiral Chen's voice came through the comm, congratulating them on their impossible victory. But Maya barely heard it. She was thinking about the data she'd found deep in the Zithran computers, hints of other species out there who'd encountered the anomalies, who'd survived, who'd become something more. Humanity had taken its first step into a larger, more dangerous universe. And Maya Rodriguez, who died and returned, would lead them forward. The torture had lasted 37 minutes. The consequences would last forever.